Part 1.
You will hear Bud and Annie talking about their families. Look at questions 1 to 5.
Hi, Annie. How are things?
Awful, Bud. Awful.
Why? What's happened?
It's home. Mum's ill and Dad's been laid off, so he's in a really bad mood, and Susan won't be of any help.
Your sister always was lazy. But what's wrong with your mum? She seemed fine last time I saw her.
Everything. I think she's really down because of Dad, and her arthritis is playing up again. It seemed the new medicine was working fine. Now she can still move her fingers, but hardly walk. Her toes hurt, and the doctor says she needs a knee replacement.
Doesn't sound too good. That's expensive surgery. Got medical insurance?
She was covered by my dad's, but that's finished since he lost his job, and money's really tight. A new knee costs about $10,000, so she'll have to put up with it for a while.
God, that's awful. Maybe I should mention it to my uncle.
The one who used to work at the hospital. What could he do?
I don't know, but he knows all the doctors, and maybe there's a way your mum could get the operation done cheaply.
It'll have to be really cheap, because they're having a problem paying the mortgage. And my sister won't help out. She's so selfish.
Well, I'll give a try. But what's this problem with your sister?
Since she won that beauty competition, she thinks she's been acting so high and mighty. Won't even help Mum with the housework.
Look at questions 6 to 10.
Won't help your mum?
No, spends all her time in front of the mirror, trying on different lipsticks.
Sounds like my cousin. You know her, I think, Marianne. Works at the Holiday Inn.
Yeah, I met her at your party, but she seemed very nice.
She is till you get to know her. Miss Charming. But she's really conceited, especially since she got promoted. Always putting people down.
What about your dad's company? Do you think he might have some work for my dad? Part-time, anything?
He just got this big contract for the new supermarket, so he might be looking for some people. And I know he likes your dad, but all his workers have to be Steelworkers Union members.
I think Dad's kept his membership up. I'll ask him.
Let me know, and I'll check with Dad when he gets back from France.
France?
Yeah, he took Mum there as a 25th wedding anniversary present.
Gosh, it's 5:30. I'm late for work. Gotta fly. See you, Bud.
See you.
That is the end of Part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to Part 2.
Part 2.
You are going to hear part of a lecture. It's about a brief history of submarines, that is a vessel for carrying people underwater. First you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
There are two main types of device in which people can travel underwater. Diving bells, which are lowered and raised from the surface and can't be propelled forwards, and submarines, which do have a means of propulsion. It's possible that Alexander the Great descended into the sea in a diving bell 2,300 years ago, although this hasn't been proved, and some sort of submarine may also have existed in China not long afterwards. The first workable submarine of recent times was designed and built in 1620 by a Dutch doctor living in London, Cornelius van Drebbel. This was a fully enclosed boat, propelled by the crew, who used oars, as in a normal rowing boat. The crew breathed air through tubes from the surface of the water. The submarine travelled along the River Thames for several hours, at a depth of over 4 metres. Later in the 17th century, the British astronomer Edmund Halley patented a diving bell linked by pipes to barrels of air. Manned descents to depths of over 18 metres, lasting up to 90 minutes, proved that diving bells were practicable devices. A number of experiments took place in the next 2 or 3 centuries, including one submarine in which the crew turned a hand crank to propel the vessel mechanically. Jumping now to the 1930s, 2 United States explorers, William Beebe and Otis Barton, developed a bathysphere, which means deep sphere, in which they dived to 922 metres. The bathysphere was just large enough for 2 people and was raised and lowered from a ship by a steel cable. Electricity reached it along a power line from the mothership, and the 2 men breathed oxygen from tanks fitted to the interior. They had a telephone link with the ship and were broadcast on the radio all over the USA.
Before you hear the next part of the lecture, you have some time to look at a submarine called Alvin and name its parts with question 15 to 20.
Nowadays, we have submersibles that can withstand the immense water pressure far below the surface. One of these deep submergence vehicles, as they're called, is Alvin, which has been in use since 1964. A typical dive lasts 8 hours and descends to 4,500 metres below sea level. Alvin is used for various scientific purposes, including, in 1985 to 86, surveying the wreck of the Titanic, the ocean liner that sank in the Atlantic in 1912. The first thing you notice about Alvin is its bright red sail, displaying the name of the vessel. The sail is on top of the vehicle, at the front, and helps to maintain stability. Alvin is about 7 metres long and just over 3.5 metres high, but only a small portion of that space is available for people. This is in the pressure sphere, which is located under the sail at the front of the vessel. With a diameter of about 2 metres, there's room for 3 people, but it's a tight squeeze. Usually, there's a pilot and 2 scientists. From here, they can look out in various directions through 4 viewing ports. Alvin carries a large number of instruments, including video and still cameras, mounted on the exterior at the front, along with lights for illuminating the ocean, as of course sunlight doesn't penetrate this far down. Usually there's a stowage basket mounted on a frame at the front, used to hold tools and scientific equipment. Immediately under the sail is the hatch, which has a diameter of only 50 centimetres. This is the way into the vessel. On top of the sail, there's a current meter to measure the movement of the ocean. Propulsion is provided by 6 electric thrusters, which make Alvin very manoeuvrable. 3 of them are for forward and reverse movement, 2 for vertical motion, and a final thruster, right at the back of the vessel, turns the submersible round. Now we'll turn to other uses.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You will hear a college professor and 2 students talking about a course on shooting video projects. First, listen to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Professor Edwards. What's happening?
Well, department head just told me I've got to teach this course on making video documentaries. I know you two are really into videos. That documentary you made last term on homeless people was fantastic. And I've never thought this course before. I'm an old-fashioned film man, so I thought I'd get some suggestions from you on how to design this course.
Well, I don't know if we can be much help, but we'll try.
How exactly do you think we can help you?
I suppose the first thing is, how much do most of the students know about video cameras? I don't want to waste time telling them stuff they already know.
Actually, some of them have video cameras, but they only use them for home movies, that type of thing.
Yeah, I don't think many of them know much about their cameras. Just point and shoot.
So maybe I should start with the basics of the video camera.
I think so. Otherwise, they will just put the thing on automatic and lose out on a lot of really good things you can do if you control the camera more yourself.
I agree. But do you expect everyone to have their own video camera?
Too expensive for a lot of them. But they can rent them. Doesn't cost too much. £5 to £15 a day, I think. Depends on the model. The thing I'm most interested in is getting them to plan their projects properly and be creative in their use of what they've got.
Doesn't the film department have some cameras students can use?
I checked that out. They've only got 3. Probably not enough.
Do you think they need broadcast quality cameras? 3 CCDs, expensive stuff.
As the conversation continues, answer questions 26 to 30.
No need. Single CCD. A bit of zoom. Wide angle for indoor stuff and scenery. Basic functions will do.
You mean camera angles, shooting from interesting positions, creative lighting, that sort of thing.
Kind of.
But that's much the same as you teach in your film courses.
Guess you're right. But I want to think of things you can do with a video camera that you can't do with a film camera.
Aha, secret shooting. Much easier to film people without their knowing with a tiny video camera than it is with a big film camera. Make a little hole in your pocket and off you go.
And if you're not happy with something, you just erase it and do it again, if you can.
Good point. But there's a question of privacy here. Is it fair to film people without their knowing?
Unless you're a cop or something. I suppose it's not. But it's often the only way to get what you want.
I don't worry about these things. I just want to make good movies. Can't always do that if people know you're filming them.
Well, I've never been taken to court for filming people without their knowing, but I agree, sometimes you have to.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a lecture about uses of plastics in our daily life. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
There are so many different types of plastic, and it's such a versatile material that it's now used in thousands of ways, and we find it difficult to imagine living without it. Plastics are the choice for so many products, featuring in different areas of our lives at the moment, from car parts to toy parts, from soft drink bottles to the refrigerators they're stored in. I believe that there are 3 main reasons why plastics have scored over other materials in satisfying the consumer's needs. These are safety, performance, and last but not least, value. Just consider the changes we've seen in the food retail business in recent years. The introduction of plastic bottles has meant that even an economy-sized bottle of juice can easily be lifted. Glass is much heavier, of course. And should you accidentally drop that bottle, it's far less likely to break. Plastic wrap helps keep food fresh and free from contamination, which is particularly important with meat. In each case, plastics help to make your life easier, healthier, and, of course, safer. Plastics also help you get maximum value from some of the high-cost items you need to buy. They ensure that cell phones and laptop computers really are light and easy to carry. They help to make sure that major appliances, like refrigerators and dishwashers, will resist the corrosive effects of moisture and certain chemicals, which guarantees they'll last longer. These appliances also operate more efficiently thanks to the use of plastics. Food safety is of key importance to the consumer, and packaging, such as heat-sealed plastic pouches and wraps, means the resources that went into producing the food in the first place aren't wasted. It's the same thing once you get the food home, where resealable plastic containers keep your leftovers protected. In fact, packaging experts have estimated that every kilo of plastic packaging can cut food waste by 3.74 kilos. That's a statistic that very few people are aware of. Plastics also help to conserve energy in your home, lowering your heating and cooling bills by cutting electricity consumption. Indeed, plastic parts and insulation have helped to improve the energy efficiency of air conditioners by up to 50% since the 1970s. And these appliances run more quietly than earlier designs that used other materials. In short, I believe plastics are a very good thing for the human race.
In the opinion of a growing number of environmental campaigners, the plastic bag is an unnecessary and damaging item that we should get rid of at all costs. This simple innovation, which was welcomed in the 1950s as an attractive modern material with many practical applications, is now seen by many as a major source of pollution. 1957 saw the launch of the sandwich bag, first produced and promoted in the USA as a good way of keeping lunchtime snacks fresh and clean. American companies quickly recognized the value of plastic bags, and by 1966, the bread industry, for instance, used them for about 1/3 of packaging. But it wasn't just in the area of food packaging that the plastic bag was beginning to enjoy success. In 1969, the New York City Sanitation Department's New York City experiment showed how much cleaner, safer, and quieter it was to use plastic bags in garbage collection, and the public soon started to line their metal trash cans with specially produced bags. However, even in the late 1960s, people were still bringing home their shopping in baskets or brown paper sacks. The commercial production of plastic grocery bags didn't start until 1973, with the opening of the first manufacturing plant. The plastic carrier bag soon became an indispensable part of everyone's life, something that governments and campaigners worldwide are now trying to reverse. In 2002, for example, the Irish government introduced a new tax payable by consumers of 15 cents a bag, which in the 2 years following its introduction raised €23 million for environmental projects. In the same year, the government of another country, Bangladesh, had to take a more drastic approach, banning the production of plastic bags and introducing an on-the-spot fine for using one. Since then, many governments have introduced similar measures, and it now seems that the days of the plastic bag may indeed be numbered.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.